Hi, this is Sophie from China Daily, streaming live from 2017 Global Sources Mobile Electronics Show. Now I am joined by Ben Wong, the head of Global Sources Direct. Hi, Ben.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining me. Firstly, is the second phase of Startup Launchpad during the 2017 Spring Trade shows. So can you brief us the greatest achievements of the first phase?
Yeah, great. So between first phase and second phase, we've been able to accomplish 200 startups. It's definitely a huge milestone for us because just 2 years ago, we only had 38 startups. A lot of these startups are coming here just to solve one big problem, and that is sales and distribution at an international level. So these guys are traveling from all over the place. In this particular phase, we have startups from Korea that are here just to show all the new technologies in the market that they can introduce to the consumer market on the online and offline basis.
So personally, do you have any target for the second phase?
Yeah, second phase is very much focused on IoT and mobile related products. So in our first phase, consumer electronics, it's more focused on the CE type of products that are more appliance based. But on the mobile electronics, we see a lot more IoT products that are connected to a mobile device in some form or other.
Why do you add a hardware to the Launchpad type? Because is there any difference from past shows?
Yeah, so there are a lot of startup shows around the market. A lot of it is very much focused on the conference side, or they're very focused on bringing in investors. This kind of puts a big net on the word startup. We're trying to identify ourselves and position ourselves, and we have done so in the past 2 years as the hardware startup show. So when the buyers come in here, they're looking at hardware products and not just software. So in terms of the IoT products here, there's always some sort of hardware component to the product. Yeah.
So because you are head of Startup Launchpad, you must be an expert of startups. So in your eyes, what's the main reason, the most formidable challenge of hardware startups?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in terms of doing a startup and what is the most formidable challenge. However, from our perspective, what we see is a constant denominator, a common denominator of a challenge for a lot of these startups is identifying what is required to get into distribution. So a lot of these guys have the best technologies in the market, but it could be their branding that they're not being able to kind of accomplish or be able to articulate to the market. It could be the pricing, just because they haven't understood that they need to bring their pricing down in terms of manufacturing, create margin for distribution channels. It could also be as simple as packaging, because a lot of these distributors are asking you to put a 20% budget aside according to your projected revenue on how to push your products out and how do you sell your product next to an Apple product. So all of these little challenges in distribution is no secret. It's just a matter of getting in there, learning from a buyer show like this, and really learning the fundamentals of how do you get your product into sales.
So besides the 4-day show, what else do Startup Launchpad provides to help them to broaden, to scale up the distribution?
Yeah, so call it that this is kind of the beginning of the finish line, if that makes any sense. So we do a lot of mini events to educate the market. So for earlier stage startups, we educate them based on our content marketing strategy, where we have blogs to talk about how do you make your products, where do you go to prototype, what are some of the different things that you should be aware of when you're manufacturing in China. So a lot of content there that we build up in our community and our newsletters. We have many events where we bring experts from all over the place. It could be from ideation to something that's around crowdfunding, manufacturing, distribution in these shows. Again, we're educating the market. And then once they're getting ready to manufacture and they're getting ready to look at international sales, they then participate in Startup Launchpad. Afterwards, we keep very close touch with these guys to see how successful they've been. For instance, I'm sure you've seen some of our startups that are already in distribution in huge stores like Best Buy, in Apple. So it really is a whole entire journey that we help these startups on.
Okay, so while preparing the shows, do you have any certain golden criteria to choose the exhibitors for the Launchpad?
Yeah, so this continues to be a happy problem for us. That is that we're looking at how do we best define a startup. We do see a lot of different types of startups, whether it's by their brand, the years of operation, if they have IP applications, if they have worldwide brand trademarks. So these are some of the criteria that we look at. However, the word startup is still very broad. This is why we position ourselves as a hardware startup show, and we're constantly changing our guidelines on how to define the best startups for our show. Yeah.
So, because I'm curious about choosing, so when you're choosing the startups, will you select those startups from the same category? What about the competition?
Competitions among the startups.
Yeah.
It's a very healthy competition, a lot of the startups will tell you, because a lot of these guys are operating in a 2-3 man team and they always find collaboration. You'll see that from our last show, we already found a lot of startups that are going to be working together amongst each other just because they have different expertise in different places. In fact, we've seen a lot of startups that merge into one company. So I think in the startup ecosystem, it really is a healthy competition for everyone. Yeah.
Okay, so can you share us with some successful case studies? Those startups they build up their distribution stories.
Yeah, so my favorite one, I'll give you two. One is a company out of Shenzhen called MakeBlock. MakeBlock is now, according to my latest information, in 46 different countries. And their number one place to be was actually, in terms of exhibitions, Global Sources. They were here, and today they're still exhibiting at our shows to get them into 46 countries worldwide. And just recently, they raised a Series B of $30 million, which is super successful. So it proves and justifies our point of, hey, these startups need to have distribution in mind from the very beginning. The second story is our Canadian startup, Nanoleaf. And they are now in 500 Best Buy stores in North America and in every single Apple store in North America. Yeah. So again, a huge success case for us. I wouldn't say that this is the finish line for them, but it really is a huge beginning for them in terms of introducing more of their products into the market. Yeah.
So will they share their stories to the fellow startups?
Yeah, actually, we bring them to our shows a lot. We bring them to our mini events a lot. We also guest write. We bring them in. We have people interview them to see, what were some of the challenges they had when they were going through distribution. In fact, a lot of things that we're doing today that's accommodating to the distribution channels is a lot of learning experiences working with a company like Nanoleaf that gives us a lot of insight.
Last question: what can we expect for the coming October shows?
Yeah, so very proud to say that we're now Asia's largest hardware startup show with 200 startups. The goal is to become the world's largest show for hardware startups that are looking to get into distribution. So a lot of the effort will be finding partners overseas as well as domestically that will bring delegations of startups to Startup Launchpad to help them get into distribution. So we hope to expand our markets to Singapore, India, France, the US, and bring the delegation startups here to exhibit with us.
Thank you so much for sharing. Stay tuned.